Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pot TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today's panel we have uh, Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on. A nice, bright, cold day in Buffalo.
Okay, and we have also Professor Daniel Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Ken. It's
Yep.
bright here in Nashville, but not cold.
Oh, okay, we'll take it. And we have a founder of network, Nick Paliveda. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Oh, thanks, Sasha. This is a show I really like watching because I love to see the game of the week that comes up here on that, and there are just really some exciting matches. I hear that Ken may have more than one today, which will be really cool.
There are 3 marquee events going on right now, and I have one terrific game from each.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so let me share my screen to first of all, the FIDE Women's Grand Prix in Nicosia, Cyprus. So let's see, right window here. Okay, now, hold on a second here. Okay, so present. And so this is the 5th of 6, I think, tournaments being held in for the Women's Grand Prix series, continuing from last year.
We don't see the screen yet. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the Muzichuk sisters are leading. They're playing very well. They drew each other in the first round. They're paired in the first round, of course, and then since then they've been making books, so to speak. So this is so Anna Muzichuk is playing black against Stavrula Solakidou of Greece.
Mm-hmm.
So who is also doing fairly well in the tournament. But let me go back to the game board. So this is a dynamic way to play for black, and this game has an interesting novelty. I shared my own screen so I can show it to you in ChessBase as well. So Tarrasch defense. Okay, you might think, what can black do? I mean, is black playing for a draw already? Well, in this game, apparently not. Nice symmetrical position after 5 moves. Okay, so now we're going to play similarly. Both players possible queenside activity. White decides to prevent b5 from coming with tempo, and there comes b5. So black is actually playing actively first on this, but black lags in development, and black is going to pay a little price for lagging in development, namely this move, which quote unquote blunders a pawn. So here we go. So I'm sure that this probably was thought of at some point, at least before computers. And white has this nice little combination, winning a pawn for nothing. Not even, I mean, black is not even ahead in development in this position. So white retreats the knight, and okay, both players actually, white takes time to apply some pressure to black's queen side, but both players castle. So what's going on here? Where's black's compensation? Well, actually, if you look in the window up top, you can see that this is 0.06. It's basically an even position. And Anna Muzichuk outplays her opponent from here. But I've taken time to show this to verify whether this was known or whether it's a novelty. So here it is, according to ChessBase Cloud and my ChessBase Big 25 reference database. This move, fianchettoing the bishop, is actually a novelty. And
wow,
when this
that's hard to believe.
Previously reached a year ago in Vaikonce, Ding Liren captured on d4 so as not to blunder the pawn.
Is that just because the retreat of the bishop to a2 is relatively rare in praxis, or?
Yeah, let's see. Actually, there is a notation to this. So this, by the way, these comments are not in the text of the PGN file. This game was played yesterday. I downloaded a plain text PGN file and put it up on ChessBase Cloud, but other people have annotated the game. So what the game says here actually is that retreating the bishop to d3 is becoming the main line. So I guess bishop a2 is an old, frequently seen move. Anyway, this is a relevant novelty. So it was clearly preparation by Anna Muzychuk, probably looking at with a computer at these lines and finding out, oh, this is not a blunder, a simple blunder of a pawn. It is actually going to give black quite reasonable activity. And it surprises me also because white's position doesn't have any obvious weaknesses, but there actually are two hitches in white's position. First of all, I was somewhat wrong saying development was equal. This bishop is not in play, and it will take at least two moves to put it on a good square. Either e4 and bishop out that way, or b3, b4 really, and bishop b2. And the second problem is that white's king side is defended only by the knight on f3. White's queen even is temporarily off to the side and has this pawn formation. It does not have the g3 bishop on g2, more solid barrier to activity by black's pieces. So these themes will all come into play, even though they're not ultimately decisive. So Anna Muzychuk just plays chess, queen c7, queen h4. Okay, now overseeing that part of the square, black just plays to the center. How is white going to develop that bishop? Notice that the game is still dead even according to the computer if white plays the plan of e4 and bishop f4, tempo on black's queen, solving the development problem that way. But Stavrolit Sukhadolu decided to try to get active the other way by playing the knight over and then b4, with ambition, I guess, of also raking black's king side symmetrically with two bishops. So white is a pawn ahead, but white is now, as I say, 3 tempi down. Need to play bishop b2, rook c1, and rook d1 to equalize leverage. Okay, so black now starts moving some wood over to the king side and putting a question to white's queen, which has to go to the not great but defensive square h3. And now black starts taking over the center. So will white be able to get the center? And now a new weakness in white's position is revealed. f2 and e3, in some positions, black can think about sacrificing the knight on f2 and taking on e3. Not here, but with more preparation. So white actually decides to give back the pawn. And very quietly, in fact, even though the computer liked white's bishop b2 move. Okay, so where did white make a mistake as far as the, I wasn't paying attention to the evaluation. It crept up on white. Queen h4 was fine, but then
Why
knight e4 was.
Ken, why didn't he play e4? I mean, this whole thing on the queen side just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, that's right.
G5.
Yeah, white should play e4 and bishop f4 or bishop g5. Correct.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
why-
basically, white's attacking nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this queen side play, there's nothing there. Yeah, but e4, you get your other bishop out, and you're up a pawn. I mean, I don't get it. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's still dead even according to the computer. So I don't know how far Anna Muzychuk's preparation extended. Let's actually take a look at that. So if white instead plays e4.
Yeah, I think that's a better move.
E4. Now let's see. So it does enable black to instantly counterattack against white's. So black is going to get some positional compensation out of this because the move to avoid a disadvantage is this, and then black can play e5. Well, yeah, but this is still maybe a little better for white. Hard to tell. Yeah. So obviously, as I said, Muzychuk did outplay black. Now black actually has so more than a 3/10 of a pawn, so it's considered reasonable to say black is slightly better in this position, and white drifts and then realizes in this position that black's pressure is such that white needs to give back the pawn to relieve some of it. And indeed, knight c5 is the only move that does not get white into real trouble in this position. So, in fact, all 3 moves by the computer have white sacrificing something. So let's see. So why is an obvious move like rook c1 bad? Oh, yes. So this is really beautiful. Black strikes. Okay.
Wow.
So this happens. This happens right away. And also, if I take it with the king, bishop takes e3 check is splat.
Too.
If I take it with the rook, if I take it with the rook, then queen takes c1 check. It's
Oh, goody.
be a lot of wood. It's mate or a lot of wood for the.
Yeah, you lose this one.
Yeah, that's a slaughter.
And
It's a lot of wood and mate, both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so white relieves some of the pressure and manages to almost equalize the position, as we'll see in a couple of moves. Black maybe could have positioned her pieces better by playing queen e7 and taking with the rook, but now white again is just trying to blockade black's position. So we're going to reach very soon bishop's opposite color's position. So black still has some pressure on g4. It shouldn't amount to much. And if white just plays a normal move like rook a1 or even lashing out, that would be okay. But instead, white plays rook d1, which looks active. It's just tactically a little bit not working. I don't know. H6, best move according to computer. I guess making Luft is prudent. It also takes some of the sting maybe out of a bishop takes e6 tactic by white that could happen in this position. Okay, so now white is going to trade off black's knight, and it actually gets traded off in a very funny way. It gets traded off that way. Black goes for it instead of white, and now takes over e4 voluntarily, so we could have had similar effect. So now this is just an interesting type of position. Bishop's opposite colors, but black's queen is more active than white's. Maybe black can't play queen takes a3 though, because then queen g4 is a little bit of counterplay. So black plays instead to just occupy the center, maybe swing the rook to a5. Here we go, or occupying the center. Improve the position of the king. And now white collapses in 2 moves. So as I said, black has, an advantage. It's almost plus over minus. Some people use 7/10 of a pawn as the boundary for that. Black probably is going to win the a pawn for nothing. There will still be drawish tendencies with the bishop's opposite colors, but if queens come off and it's a rook ending, I definitely favor black. So white did the natural thing, guarded the pawn on a3, but now this allows first the strong rook c2, penetrating the 7th rank. And now problems here. If white captures on d5, black just captures back, and there's no way to defend the bishop.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
d4. And you can't capture this way because rook d1 would check.
Yeah, so there's just like one ugly move to save the position.
Right, queen e1, yes. But instead, she had obviously planned to play queen f2.
Oh, good. Oh, boy.
But rook takes b2. That's a free bishop.
Yeah.
Hanging there. And so then game over. Yeah. So, so interesting board geometry with the rooks. Just a nice, theoretically relevant game by Anna Muzychuk.
Beautiful game.
And I had a flashback to my first rated chess game when I was a senior in high school. I got a free pawn, and then black had 2 bishops and a Ruy Lopez on similar squares, and basically just rolled me up in a similar way. So,
is that pawn sacrifice sound though for black?
I don't think any of those pawn sacrifices are sound, other than you get a lot of counterplay, and so it probably favors the better player.
Yeah.
Yes. So knight c3. Let's see. So in this position, just looking at the slave to the evaluations here, rook c8, queen a4 actually was momentarily best move. White should just castle here, and again, what black is doing. Well, yeah. So it may not be sound. It may be a blunder of a pawn, as I would have assessed it 50 years ago.
Right.
But there's still a lot of life in classical chess, so people are making these discoveries. And maybe Anna Muzychuk has discovered some way to bail. Maybe black can bail into a bishop's opposite colors position down a pawn. So who knows? Okay, second game I have is from the American Cup. And so there's a men's and women's section. This is a double elimination tournament where the second bracket is played at rapid pace, and then the winner of that gets to challenge the champion of the main brackets, which are played at 90 plus 30 without a lump sum of turn 40, the fastest FIDE norm time control, which is a very common time control. And in the open section, Hikaru Nakamura defeated Fabiano Caruana in a blitz tiebreak. But in the women's section, Alice Lee won it cleanly, winning in round 1 and drawing in round 2 against Tata Varamanyan after Arena Crush and some others had fallen by the wayside. So this is a beautiful attacking game by Alice Lee, a very mature one in some ways that I will show. So, but Black, of course, Tata Varamanyan plays enterprisingly with King's Indian. Okay, and this offbeat move, knight a6, followed by e5. So Black there are tactics here where White can't hold on to a pawn on e5 that are, I think, pretty well known. So Black now reroutes the knight, and now the knight is going to come into play in a more common square. So the whole question is, can Black get sufficient counterplay against White's center? And the engine actually says, this is a little bit of trouble for Black. Already we have to take some activity on this side in order to avoid a very large disadvantage. So Black's other knight goes to h6 now. But White's pieces aren't so great either. Now I would like to get the f3 knight off and maybe expand on the king side. But first, let's knock back Black's knight. And now, again, this is just a nice move and a nice strategy by Alice Lee. And whether this is a preparation should also be looked at. So in fact, let me see if I can open this. I probably shouldn't show this window. Things going on. Well, okay, so I won't take a look at it. But this move here, it's interesting to see when this.
Very pretty.
Very pretty. Yeah. Obviously, White could capture on h6 if Black takes it. The point is, White will sacrifice a pawn, but open up the d5 square.
Yeah.
And Black's fault in this game is not responding in kind quickly enough. And you don't take the chance when it's first offered, and then it never comes back again. Okay, so I don't really understand Queen e8 as a move, as opposed to b6, and the computer doesn't understand it either. But now the computer, and I also don't understand why Stockfish is repeating moves, but there are problems with cyclical evaluations. So anyway, White goes ahead with business. And so White has sacrificed the pawn, but we have this lovely square on d5 and pressure on the d file. And now what Black has to do to equalize is get a knight onto d4. And I could try doing it with either knight. So it does it with this knight. There you go. It gets into d5, and now the knight is going to come to c6 or e6 and d4. Okay, and now queen f7. Okay, we're going to do it via e6. Meanwhile, this knight goes back here. Okay, so already though, Black is getting pushed around, and so let's see. Is it already here? Actually, that Black missed the chance. Let me just see something here. So I prepared this, and now I've forgotten how I thought Black's most expeditious way to get the knight to d4. Well, okay, so knight b8. So the problem is White is eventually going to, oh yeah, it's coming up. So this was taking the foot off the gas. So the key element to this position is that when White's bishop is on g4, Black is not going to be able to play knight d4 anymore, because Black will lose control of the e6 square. So this already sets up that latent tactic, and that's why bishop g4 would have been better. Mm-hmm. Anyway, White played knight e3, coming in. And now, so this is where Black had the chance to get the
Yeah,
knight to
knight
d4.
e6.
Should have taken it right away. Queen takes e6. Okay, now the thing is that white has not yet played bishop g4, and you can play h5. So the point of h5 is to prevent white's bishop from coming to g4, and then after h3 or something, now knight d4, and black is fine. Might lose another pawn on c5, but you've put the cork in the bottle, so to speak. So the problem with black's knight d7, which is trying to get the knight back active, is that now black can't play knight e6 anymore. Well, okay, black has to obviously move the knight on d7, but now black can't play knight e6 anymore. It's still the best move, but it doesn't work, so to speak. So the problem is that now knight d4 loses to rook takes d4 and bishop e6, pinning the queen.
Oh, whoops.
And now, so black cannot play this anymore. And maybe it is now that Tatev Arabanyan realized that. Okay, rook f8, but now white is able to put the hammer down. So first, let's do that. Okay, so black, the natural knight c8, I mean, everything is bad here, but the natural knight c8 just allows white to infiltrate. And black is, see, there's no knight coming to d4. Yeah. So white is just has just dominance of this position. So black tried bishop f6 first, and that at least got white's queen out of dodge. But the problem in the position still remains. So the problem is that black's knight is not going to get to d4 anytime soon. Okay, so, and white meanwhile is able to put pieces on good squares. So this is mature. Again, white may have missed a chance to like a6 might not have been the best move. Maybe rook a3 and swinging to the king side is better. But white's plan is perfectly fine. We're just going to put pressure on black and prevent the pieces from organizing themselves with black's knight going to f8, e6, and d4. So this is, again, hoping to get the knight to f8. But there we go, the knight's on f8. But now, okay, can black play queen f7 to try to do this? No, knight g4 is just too much pressure. Knight h6, forking king and queen. So black realized that to play king g7. Now there's going to be a very beautiful knight checkmate motif in a moment.
Really?
So knight g4. Okay, and now rook c8. Just a blunder, but maybe a blunder of despair. Okay, because black realizing that queen f7 is not on because the bishop takes f6, and there's just not going to be enough defenders of d8 in the end. Okay, so that's the flaw in black's position, and that's why she played rook c8, still hoping to get the rook off the d8 square and that there's enough defenders of the position. But here we go. So I should have used this as a puzzle position, maybe. Rook d6, absolutely beautiful.
Very pretty.
Yeah, very pretty. So if bishop takes f6, so this is mate in 3. It's bishop takes f6 mate. Suddenly all the squares of black's king are cut off. And whether you go to g8, that's checkmate, or whether you go to f7, this is where black's crampedness comes in. E8 and e6 are blocked. So this too is checkmate with just the knight and the bishop. So so this now is splat. And so black's queen, again, now we're hoping, can we get knight e6 in? No, rook takes f6. This is rampage of destruction here. And the same problem, if you capture white as knight h6 mate. So after this, Arabanyan gave up.
Well, that's not the way to play the King's Indian.
Yeah, as white, yeah. So very powerful, very calm positional play leading up to an attack. Attack is the natural outgrowth of the positional play. So Alice Lee is, I guess, 15, sure, but certainly, now she says the rating says 2386. I track her as being closer to 2500. Maybe she needs to go to Europe and get more experience. Anyway, okay. Well, she'll have one more challenge from the losers bracket. Maybe it'll be Irina Krush, because Krush and Lee have had some real Donnybrook matches in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But okay, last game is from the European Individual Championship being held in Efori Nord, Romania. Right now, Daniel Yuffa has 5.5 out of 6, and there are 11 people chasing with 5 out of 6, one of whom is Badur Jobava. And, he plays C4, so we're not playing the Jobava London system out of the gate, but let's play a few more moves here. Okay, so you have Slav defense, and we handle it in London style. So, bishop in the exchange Slav, bishop f4 is a much longer, older, known move. So, obviously. So now knight e5. So as I said, this is a symmetrical, boring position at a boring open line, and it gets exciting real quick in this game. So f3 now. So a little bit of fantasy style play. You attack my bishop, I'll attack your queen. I'll try to win a pawn. Get checks, and a white has sacrificed the d pawn. Suddenly we have craziness on the board. This game is going to have even more crazy motifs with it. So queen c2. Okay, so we sacrificed a pawn. The computer says dead even, but whose preparation is better, and is this position easy to play? I think this position is much easier to play for white, because you attack by developing. Whereas black can develop, but black has to pay attention to things that are getting attacked. And here we go, castle on the queen side. So more weird veiled quasi threats, discoveries with the bishop. And black now goes astray. So black maybe can play queen a7, discretion, and then develop normally, crouch for a while and be up a pawn. Korchnoi maybe could play this as black. But instead, get the knight from offside. What could be a more natural move? Okay, so computer thinks that white should have played e4, sacrificing another pawn. Wild things will happen. Maybe black can't take it. Maybe there's a simple reason why black can't expose himself on the D line. Okay, so this obviously has to be looked at very deeply to understand what's going on. Actually, what's going on is knight b6 and lots of pressure on d7, and white's bishop raking a6, so maybe you can already reject this. So e4 is a good move by white, but king b1, understandable. Get the king out of checking range. Now black plays queen a7, and black is fine. And the game actually is normalizes for a while. Okay, so white, you had to say, is positional compensation for this sacrifice. Now e4, and black gives back the pawn to develop. So the game now looks fairly normal, except that we're going to have some nifty tactics, beginning with knight b6. Okay, so this is not necessarily a good move, but it's a great way to confuse your opponent. So the natural bishop d3 developing was probably the way to handle this position. By the way, knight b6. So the tactical point is that now black's bishop on d6 is hanging. Okay. But black can respond by attacking one of white's pieces. Okay, and now this is opening up the reality that white has opened up lines on the queen side against his own king. Okay, so this is nice. We don't even capture on d6 right away. We've got the beautiful square e5, threatening mate on b2, and white has to open up some more lines, and white's not developed yet. So, okay, we develop, and we block black's attack. Pawns are even, slight advantage to black, but looking at the time, black is a little bit behind on time, but the players really have enough time to navigate.
Oh, he doesn't fall for it.
What did he not fall for?
The check on f7. It's like a class C kind of tactic.
Yeah. the better way not to fall for it was to
Yeah.
was to do that. But okay, so we played, but Queen B6 is very natural. We're fingering some dark squares. We're maybe contemplating A5, A4 in this position. The only drawback is we did allow White's rook into D7, and that ties Black down a bit. But counter that rook. Okay, so all right. So maybe Black is playing defensively. This A5 motif now is a sad echo of the attack. But there's nothing wrong with Black's position. Just have to not get spooked by possible tactics that White might come up with. Okay, that's nice. Bishop A1. Now A4, a little bit. So Black actually just H5. I guess A5 is obviously not hanging because it's made on B2. So Black should just sit in this position. I think Bishop C3 is probably the same.
Yeah, Bishop C3 looks same.
But anyway, so this is so the problem with this move is White just takes it.
Takes it.
And
Wow.
And White will just play have a pawn on B3 with a
I guess the bishop can sit on E5 and be perfectly happy if necessary.
Yes. So Black has vague attacking ideas, and now the game suddenly comes to an end. So this is where again there's some interesting geometric motifs here. So Queen G7, again dreaming of that attack. Okay. And the funny thing is, White's move, which induced resignation, isn't even one of the best three moves according to the computer. The computer says that White's king should become an attacking piece and start overloading Black's bishop on the diagonal. So, but White played bishop takes F7 check. And, well, let's see. So it is true that Niels Grandelius had only 47 seconds for thinking. But it looks like the resignation was instant. And it does actually, I will tell you that even though the computer is giving only a value of 1, I think a human can tell that the position is dead lost. But as I said, there's a lot of nice geometry going on here. So problem number 1 for Black is you can't ignore this because now this is overload on F8 and mate coming up. Okay. So you have to take it, and you should take it. So then Queen B8 check. And so what's different about this is maybe Black saw only as far as Queen D8.
Yeah, right.
Rook D8, pinning the queen and winning. And, this would be Black losing the queen. It's resignable. But there's a nice counter motif for Black. Rook D7 check. Maybe the position was not.
Yeah, I'm sure he missed that.
Yeah, and this is reminding of the first game. I guess if you only have 7 seconds left, you're not going to see something like this. And the point of this, though, in the end, so the real problem at the end is that Black's bishop on C3 is loose.
Yeah,
and
so it's lost, but not resignable.
Right. So this is, however, though, fairly well lost. It's 2 pawns down and a queen ending. And queen endings are not the drawish. You have to wait through lots of checks, but Black really has no counterplay of the position. So a human can assess this as far more lost than a computer showing only plus 0.14. But anyway,
maybe Grandelius saw all of that in a glance, but I wouldn't have. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. I might resign this position as Black just because I know. I mean, there are some positions where you can get some real checky attacks, but this is not one of them. Yeah. So there we have it.
Thank you so much. Well, some positions are much less enjoyable to defend than others. And this position is one of them.
Absolutely.
It's like I have a friend of mine that we played many years ago, a lot of blitz games, and the score was a plus in my favor. And one game we played, he had a huge advantage, and finally it was a completely lost end game for me. And so we kept playing for time or whatever. And he said, Sasha, there are some positions in chess that even I can win. Once he said that, I resigned. So sometimes that depends on your psychological decisions. Continue to fight or just resign. Anyway, thank you so much again for today's program, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye. Yep. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.